Hello, Wasteland. Yes, welcome back, brothers. That's right. We're here to look at Gaslands UK's Car of the Year video for 2022. Oh, yes, it's been a long, long year, hasn't it, my brothers? So, of course, I'm James Hall, your host. I'm joined by fellow admin members.
And I'm Matt Reeve, you know me. I've just got beardier in my old age. I've just aged 25 years in a year. Thanks to Gaslands UK and being an admin.
Yes, we are also joined by our incognito friend,
Benjamin Pop. Actually, no one actually calls me Benjamin. I don't know why I keep up the charade.
Well, what do they call you? Is it Popusan? Did I make that up?
Yeah, Popusan, yeah.
So what are we looking at? We are looking at the 12 finished months of 2022. Yes. So easiest way to start any of these videos in the last couple of years. So from the top, what is your least favorite Marmite build from this year, from the 12 that won? Which one do you look at and you just go, don't like it, can't stand it?
Man, going straight for the throat, I guess. Right out of the gates.
Ben, you were talking a lot of smack about Matt Andrews in March, so come on.
Whoa.
It's right in the fryer.
This year has been this year feels like 10 years. I think that my least favorite out of the winners of the year is Matt Andrews' build. It's just the build idea is cool. I like the articulated train of cars, I guess you would call it, or is the cars articulated together. I like the idea. I like the armor on there. It looks all right. It's just the paint job, and it's a bit rough around the edges compared to some of the other entries that won over the months. So I think for me that's going to be the least favorite.
That's the not human centipede, the motor centipede.
Yeah, it? the mad centipede. I don't know. It might have a name. I don't remember.
I mean, this was the thing, because when you go back to March, it was a multi-wheeled build month. It was, you had to have at least 3 axles, so you had to have at least 6 wheels on your build, which he did. He had 4 axles, he had eight set, wheels, he had 4 sets. But this was the last month where the sponsor would pick the winners, because from April onwards, it then changed to first place is picked by us, and then the sponsors could then choose hundreds of winners if they so wanted, but the name was from us, and ultimately that paid dividends. But you do see that when you look at the year as a whole, like the first sort of 3-4 months, there's some interesting picks there, and then all of a sudden all the winners are on a nice plain white background and photographed nicely so you can see all the details. What about yourself, Matt? What was your least favorite build of the year? Come on.
Well, I don't like dwelling on the negatives. I don't like, pissing on anyone's fireworks. But I think, pardon, monsieur, is Eric G. Gagnon. He's my least favorite, I think, of the year.
January's.
Yeah, the January one, which was Best of British theme, which was an interesting theme. Best of British, people thought that meant do punk, didn't it? I thought meant do punk or cover it in Union flags, Union Jacks. He didn't go punk. He did put some Union Jacks on there, but it was the scale. It was the differences in scale. So you've got a double-decker bus that is too small. You've got a motorbike on the roof that is too big, and then you've got some figures that are in between. Technically it was good, and it was painted pretty good, and it was a nice concept, but because you've got these 3 different scales going on there, it sort of shattered the sense of illusion that you get with some of the other builds.
That's a real big part of this competition as well, where a lot of people will come from a wargaming background. They'll have access to 40k bits and Space Marine bolt guns and all this kind of stuff. But the moment you put that stuff on a build, it stands out like a sore thumb. And you can see, right out the front of that double-decker bus, there's just one of those Imperial Guard auto stubbers or whatever they're called. To me, I just focus in on it and I'm just like, it's a 40k bit, that shouldn't be on there. Like it jumps out as the wrong scale. And then all of a sudden, all you can see are the things that are in the wrong scale, bless him. And I do like Eric. I do I enjoyed finding out that he's a what is it? He's like a NATO photographer or something, or a UN photographer, but he uses a bed sheet for a background. But this is the thing. I mean, now of course myself, the king of the Wasteland, my least favorite build for this year will be all of the winners from this year because I entered every month. I should have won every single month. But of course, I think because I know some viewers at home might be thinking clearly it's going to be something like February because my lovely robots, which I still have to this day, I still keep it. I treasure this robot. You know, that I felt was a surefire. Like I was looking at the other robots and I was thinking, no one's going to come close. That when I saw Tobias's, that's when the floor came out from under that because his entry just really is solid. So I can't fault him for it because I do really enjoy looking at it.
I love his build.
Yeah, I think this is when you're entering it as opposed to when you're an observer. Everything you enter, you think this is going to win. This is the best thing this month. Nothing's going to come close. My goodness.
Well, that's the thing when you sit down with something for 10, 15, 20, 25 hours and it's, you know, the size of the palm of your hand. You pour that much time and energy into it late nights or whenever you're working on it. And then you see and you submit your pictures and you think it looks amazing and you pick out your best shots. And then you see in the end, well, did you place first? No. Did you place second? Well, no. Did you get third? No, you haven't even been in the video. So I've been in all of those boats. I've been in first, and I actually haven't. Did I ever place besides first?
Considering I only technically lost August because of the changes to the rules that I brought into effect. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have been Car of the Month winner for August 2022. I like to think that I'm the king of the Salt Mountain for the last year. So what do we think about April as a month then? The jet-powered drag racers and Dave Bousset's first win of the year.
Well, it was about time David got a win, wasn't it, really? I mean, he's been getting better and better since he appeared on the scene. Oh, when did he appear on the scene? 2021? And what a well-deserved win it was. Certainly one of, I think, the highest standard of vehicle that we had.
I think certainly for the month of April, it was far and away the first. I distinctly remember when we voted on this, there was no question in anyone's mind that this was first place.
And as we discussed this before, the only thing that lets it down is that 3D printed gun on the top, which I believe is a Sable Badger print that you can get free from Thingiverse. The reason what lets it down for me is because I've printed that gun before straight onto a build plate. And what happens is the tips of those guns get mushed up, and you can see it on this. So the tip of that gun slightly curves up and it's flattened. If you don't support it underneath, or you don't print it at an angle, you get that. So it sort of goes down like a duck's mouth, duck's bill, sort of at the end of the gun. And that's the tiniest thing that really takes it away from being, you know, flawless almost.
Speaking of which, we should probably talk about May and the punk rock month that everyone burnt out on.
Do we need to talk about May? The winner of May though, Mick's entry was absolutely beautiful. I love this car so much. I love the cage on the front there. Yeah, for me, that was a really, really solid one. Looking at all of the ones, even the winners out of the year.
I wanted to bring it's because I left for a minute. I wanted to bring this over because this is one of the sort of major changes that happened in the last year, was the competition and the group getting featured in a magazine. And I think this is the thing with Mick's entry, with Mick's feature in it, is ultimately, I mean, they could see it when they were putting the magazine together. He was becoming a trendsetter. You know, he was exploding onto the scene. It is a lovely build for his first of the year. It was just a rough month with a lot of rough entries. And I should know, mine was rubbish as well that month. Let's go straight into June.
It was a tough month. It was a tough month. I don't think anyone really shined through that month. I mean,
Right.
I will, yeah, I'll concede yours was pretty darn nice, James. It was good, but I think everyone just went too big and didn't think about, tidiness of design and aesthetic. They just went, just shove a load of lollipop sticks together and
Cool.
Those are the hardest months to pick when there's no clear winner. Obviously, that's the case, but it makes our job super hard when we got to pick and say this is the representative, this is the leader of the pack for this month.
Because even a Rise Lightspear took place that month and made his catapult out of wood and metal and a toy car body, which was then coated in wood, so it was really nicely hidden. But everyone got so hung up, myself included, on making a catapult that worked and then worrying about the car afterwards. And it's like, no, it's a car with a catapult on it that works. That's the shift in focus. Because Kev Williams, because July was the convertibles month, wasn't it? It was taking a vehicle that is not traditionally convertible and chopping the roof off and turning it into one. And overall, it's not a bad build that Kev made. There are things to me that kind of rub me the wrong way, like the ropes on the trailer being these massive hair tie things rather than nice small kind of rope. But
the ropes are pretty rough. I think that just a tip that I would give to anyone on scale and just keeping things in perspective is think about, I mean, if you don't want to think about the numbers, I usually think about the numbers, like if it's going to be like 64th scale or 72nd scale, just convert, like, what is a 2 millimeter piece of styrene going to be when you multiply it by 64? Like that's how many millimeters it's going to be. Okay. It's going to be 12. It's going to be 120. That's 12 centimeters. That's huge. So 12 centimeter roll cage, like diameter bar for a roll cage, is insane. But you can't go much smaller than 2, and you can't really go smaller than 1. So just look at, if you're using a figure, look at this guy's head. Like if you're looking at a picture of the car and then look at the rope is bigger than the guy's head. So just hold things up next to each other. Does it look like would you be using a rope as thick as your neck? That's the question.
And this is the difficulty with it, because these are all solid competition month builds, because at the end of the day they won their months. It's just at the same time it's pushing it that extra step, and with Kev it is just scale. But then you go into August's month, which I should have won, as we've already all agreed. Looking at Arise's build, and although it is made from like 7 or 8 different toy car bodies and bits glued together, there is a cohesive sense of scale throughout. The people fit with the weapons fit with the size of the different vehicle components. It just sort of works really nicely.
I don't know what are the front like grinding wheels from? Is that cut from some kind of chipboard and then layered, or is that it
immediately falls apart when you look at the front grinding ram thing, because I'm not
sure what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's where it falls apart. You take those two off and the rest of the build is perfect. Like it really is. It's that simple.
But yeah, I mean, Arise Lightspear always comes up with some really solid stuff.
He's a good trash basher, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, until he started winning competitions and winning all the prizes of 3D printed parts, he was the king of making stuff out of old broken lighters and odd scraps of plastic. Like a lot of these Southeast Asian guys they make incredible stuff out of what's lying around. And he does it well, and he does it to scale. I mean, not so much on this one, but some of his previous builds, it was really tricky to see, is this 164 to 72 scale? They looked a lot bigger for the amount of detail you could pack into a small place. And he's very good at that. But yeah, this was good. This was one of the strongest of the pirate ships, I reckon, out of that month. No offense to you, James. I know you want to win that.
Well, as we know, I would have won and did technically come second place.
Okay, right. Let's talk about Darren Phillips. Now, I did like this, but I didn't like this as much as all of you guys. You all really raved about this one. So I'm probably not the best person to start talking about it. Go on.
I really love this build. I like the I don't know what the word would be, but I guess the way that it transforms and it's all one piece. It all, the spoiler on the back becomes the hydrofoil. The wings pop in and out. It's all self-contained. I think we saw other people, like James, even your build, you had something that you had to attach that was external, which is obviously like, I can't say I didn't participate in this month's build, and I probably would have done something similar just because it's so hard to do what he did. And I think I gave his build a lot of points. I think that the build and the theme for me, those 2 out of the 3 criteria that we look at, were really, really up there.
No, absolutely. I mean, for me, it is like I said in the video, at the end of the day, this is the kind of thing that I wanted to do, but technically I'm not skilled enough or enough of an engineer to really figure out. But where this falls down is similar to David Bousset, where it's those, like, the weird laser gun on the hood is just an awful 3D printed gun. It looks rubbish, but then you look at like the passengers and the rockets and all that sort of stuff, and it works really nicely. And the paint job is really catching. But it's when you get into the real fine minutiae of the build and all the little details, and there's little bits that just don't quite gel right.
It's really good. I just don't know what it is that doesn't grab me. I love Daz's builds. He's an excellent builder and he's an excellent model maker. And this one, I think this was, for me, this was too much of the popular choice. I think I wanted something that was going to be a bit more out there. This is sort of a bit sci-fi comic book, I suppose. I think Arise was a bit more. It was like the Groo-mobile that he turned into a helicopter. Type thing.
That had the little DC motor in it as well, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
You chop your finger off playing with it.
You had that wonderful clash of old and new, where Arise's build was, talking about an arms race, was very much there with this motorized propeller and flashing lights and all of the gimmicks that you would expect in a arms race type build, while at the same time it is a solid build. Whereas with this, it's very much, this is the concept, this is the execution, it's all watertight. There's little bits, and this is what I mean, like you look at like the hydrofoil bit at the back, you can see the rough cuts where there's like a little band of metal or something wrapped around it, because that's part of the mechanic for when it sort of comes off and then gets stuck underneath and becomes the hydrofoil. So that's a little bit rough, but the rest of it looks ace. It looks fantastic. So you don't notice it. If we have a look at David Bousset's entry for October, the Zombies month, with the brand new sponsor over at Anvil Industries.
I just want to charge in because I love this. I think this is fantastic. I think that the yellow is on point, the rust is on point, the plasticard work, the rivets are slightly on the big side, but it works in how chunky it is and how just tetaноusly scabbed it is all over. There's 3D prints on it, but they don't scream shonky 3D prints to me. There's some nice tarpaulin work on the roof. There's loads of little details. I think the only thing I can fault it of is that barbed wire, because it doesn't look like barbed wire. It looks like an electro coil sort of thing going around the roof. And barbed wire is really hard to do at this scale, because this is pretty small, this van. But yeah, I love it. It's just that bit of barbed wire lets it down. And that is really nitpicking it, because otherwise the rusting, the weathering is superb, the detailing is superb. And yeah, so much of this is cut plasticard and sort of scratch built elements to it.
On the theme of nitpicking, if you look at the antenna on the back, I really the bar going vertically is a bit too thin compared to how thick the antenna itself is for me. I think that if we're talking about scale, that antenna on top is just way too big.
If we can, let's all say what we really feel. You cut that antenna off and the build loses nothing. It would be so much better without that antenna.
That's
just
very true.
Stop. I get that he had fun making it, but it's so not necessary for the rest of the build. But this is the thing. I completely agree, because like everyone that month, it's, oh yeah, let's make the car that eats zombies or is covered in spikes and gore and all this. But we all sort of missed the, we all went straight past the wood for the trees of just, this is meant to be a vehicle to survive a zombie apocalypse in. It's meant to be covered in metal and protective mesh and all the stuff that you would find in an apocalypse, this is a rugged survivalist vehicle, and that's what made it stand out so much from, like myself and crazy harvesting tractors.
What wasn't the theme was zombies, so that was interpreted how you wanted. So it could be zombie fighting, it could be zombies driving, a zombie car. We saw so many different interpretations of that theme, wasn't it? It wasn't specifically it had to be a zombie attack vehicle, but this in a zombie apocalypse is what you want to be in, isn't it? Really, rather than something that's going to chew zombies up and get them snagged and snared in, you want to be in the most armored thing you can be in, covered in
for sure.
That's just going to plow through them.
November and Volker Vikes entry.
The helicopter. This was extremely well executed. I think that, again, at least for me this month, when picking my favorite of the builds, this was an easy first choice for me.
I would have liked to see a bit more sort of weathering. I think maybe you pointed this out in the video. The highlight on the windscreen is really sort of basic. It could do with at least one more streak or two more streaks of grey, sort of going up lighter, and a bit of weathering on that decal. It does look like a sticker stuck on the bonnet, but everything else, it really fit the brief. This was a Frankenstein beast. It was is militaristic, as militaristic as you can get. Yeah, it's great. It was a deserved win that month.
I think it looks like a helicopter as well. It's not just like, oh, you made a helicopter out of two cars. It's like, it looks like a helicopter as well. It looks enough like a helicopter to pass.
Yeah.
And the Rutherford cut and shut month was such an interesting one, because you go into it thinking, okay, so it's going to be military vehicles. Am I really going to enjoy that? Because I'm going to have to put lots of guns and armor and everyone looks like a soldier and all that. Is it going to be that? But once you start doing a build that is a rugged utilitarian military vehicle, oh my goodness, you find use for bits that you've had gathering dust for years. Like it's such a wonderful thing. If anyone's sort of looking at it and going, would I actually enjoy that? You really would sort of you do get into the swing with it, because it's not about, we had entries that month that just covered their vehicles in rockets and bazookas and all this kind of nonsense, but it's not about that. It's about making it look believable, and this, it works. It was a rock solid entry. And the flight base, I know a lot of people just ignore it, but I'm pretty sure that's one of those Fantasy Flight X-Wing plastic flight bases, then with like a magnet or something on it. That solves a massive dilemma of how do I base my helicopters. That's the way you do it, because that works really easy. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's been in this has got a couple of those knocking about.
It's like a ball bearing at the top of the flight stand, right? And then the magnet.
I will say about the there's a smoke grenade launcher is directly under the top propeller, isn't it? If you look at it, that picture. So
yeah, they're not going to get very far, are they?
Maybe it's exhaust.
Front exhaust. Front-facing exhaust. But then finally, shall we move on to December's Darren Phillips's second? I keep wanting to say Daz Phillips because that's what it's typed as. Daz Phillips' second win for the year with the Dakar Desert Rally build.
Where to start? Well, it's a very original design. It's an original design. This reverse trike. It's got a great use of greeblies and things in there. An awful lot of scratch building has gone on. There's an awful lot of plasticard has gone into that. We've got some Games Workshop parts again that have been repurposed that are hidden away nicely, aren't they? We've got guns for those front wheel struts. I can't really pick holes in this one, really. I know in your video you said he could have done with some colour on it, some different colours. I don't agree. I think, well, all right, maybe something tiny. You said about a yellow gas can on it, but I don't think so. I think red and green are contrasting colours on the colour wheel. He's done that well. It's all red. There's a little bit of green to contrast with that, and then I suppose the white to break it up. It's cohesive. It's a whole. It's detailed. It's nicely weathered. It's a nice original design. It stood out from all the others. Although we had a lot of similar builds that month, this was very, very different to everything else. And then seeing the work in progress pictures that went into it, that made you appreciate it all the more, knowing the level of thought he put into it and the level of design. That's what I appreciate, good design. And I think this is good design.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you're completely incorrect about the colours, because there are 4 in this. It's black and white and silver and red, and that's it. I mean, there's green, but
There's green.
The white
There's-
shade, they're not colours. You've got 2 colours.
you got red and green, and that's it. And metal. There you go. It's but that's the thing. It's like, again, as we were saying, December is such a hard month for people because of real world commitments. So to come up with a scratch build like this and then execute it so beautifully, and it just ticks every box. I love it. I just wish it had just a tiny bit of yellow somewhere, or blue, or just something to break it up. Just something.
Some light in the cab. Yeah, some light coming off the dash onto the driver, maybe. Some object source lighting, something like that, I think would lift it.
I think I really like this build. I'm in Matt's camp. I don't think it needs any more color. I think it's fine as it is. I mean, there's the green accent like strapping down the tire on top, right? And that's just a pop of another color. It could have been maybe a different color. I think it's all right though. I think something blue could have gone into it, but I don't think it needs it.
And this is the thing, because Darren and David would just dominate this year. I mean, if they weren't getting first places for months, they were getting second or third places. I think it's fairly safe to say that between them, they won more times than anyone else in 20.
Probably, yeah.
Like hands down. If again, not every single month, but they were certainly getting second or third more often than not, because their builds are they're up there. And we've got a Hall of Fame. We've got like Tony Peacock and Molinaro and Maciej Metrak and Matt Reeve and Benjamin Park, and all these big names. So it is nice to see new big names coming in and joining that.
It shows anyone that wants to, is sitting on the sidelines thinking about joining, that really anyone's got a shot if you can get your build to a certain standard.
Yeah. So that all said, let's look at announcing the winner then, shall we? So easily within the top 3, you've got to have David Bousset and Darren Phillips, just because their builds have been consistently top-notch throughout the year. I'd probably put Darren's entry from September above David's entry from April. So the converter car would be my first place pick. David's April jet powered dragster would be my second place pick, and then third place would be probably Tobias Hutton for beating my beautiful robot that had its victory stolen from him. But Tobias Hutton for third.
Well, James, don't you know that you can't pick it's not a car. We can't pick car of the year that's not a car. Matt knows, right?
Yes, because you can't pick a Truckosaurus, so you can't.
You can't pick a diorama of the year.
I will say, so Tobias Hutton, this robot character, and I will say it is a character. It's not a build. This has life. This is probably one of my favorite creations that's come out of any car of the month, hands down. And I actually, I actually offered Tobias to buy this from him in a private message, because I love this robot so much. It looks like an animal, like a dromedary animal or some sort, chewing on it's just gnawing on the parts of a car there. So that's definitely going to be in my top, but I can't say it's top of the car of the year because it's not a car. I'm going to be that guy. I think David Bousset's April entry is my number one. I think it's above Darren Phillips's entry. So I think that my first place would be David Bousset. My second place would be Tobias Hutton's robot. And then I think my third place, it's really hard. I think it's going to be Darren's from December, just because I love that scratch build so much.
Which then leads us to Matt. I mean, I suppose we should give a sort of an honourable mention shout out to Colin, who can't be with us. he picked his first place as Dave Bussett's April VW Type 2 rocket sled. That was his. He didn't pick a second or third, so we'll just have it as a break glass for any concerns. But go on, Matt. What are your top three for the year?
I'm sort of caught between the two of you. So, yeah, David and Darren, although alternative vehicles. I mean, I do like David's April, but I really like his, the October one. I like Darren's car, his convertible car, but I don't think I like Darren's convertible car as much as I like his three-wheeled buggy. I'd love to buy a Hutton's robot, but as we've said, it's not a car. It's hard. I don't know. Yeah, but it's a toss-up between that and Daz's Christmas build, I think, for my favourites of the year.
So I think we're in agreement then, my brothers. That's right. So without any further ado, this is it, boys and girls. We've waited 12 months to get to this point. The winner of Gaslands UK Car of the Year for 2022 is...
Hello and welcome to Gaslands UK's Car of the Month Challenge for January 2022. To start us off in 2022, we're opening with a theme close to home. It's the best of British. Adam Pollard, Alan Bates. Guess who's back? James Hall is back, and he's promising us a year of James Hall builds. Molinaro, how does your mind work? Look, there's a patch of rust in the shape of the British Isles. Coming out very, very soon. And we also aim to have...
Recently knighted Gaslands UK Group expert Fred Wiver returns to the fray this month.
But we have changed the judging rules to a much fairer policy. That is myself, Benjamin Pop, James Hall and Colin Harvard will be picking the winners. So, without further ado, we go over to James.
Hello, Wasteland! Yes, welcome back, brothers! It is I, your Lord and Master. Hear me and obey. My goodness, for a first time entering the competition, what an absolute banger of a build. It's going to be another wild ride, and that will be my 7th of 12 cars. Is it Vivian? I gotta say, I think your builds are fantastic. And can we all just take a moment to appreciate the fact that our boy Mick has been featured in the Diecast Heroes magazine. 36 finished entrants. 36. We are pushing the big numbers now, boys and girls. Right, you guys, you gotta get your entries in. Come on. Before you know it, October will be here.
The rest of you parasites, well, you just keep on milking his time and soul. See how long before he completely cracks and has a total...
Let's start with the Wooden Spoon Award. That's right, we're going to start pointing out the booby prize each month, because I think you guys need a gentle push. Flatbed truck that lifts up and just dumps out a yellow sports car onto the road. And we've also had William Young painting the Union Jag onto a paintbrush. Dirk, we've got to talk, okay, Dirk? You submitted one photo. The minimum is 5. 3 of your 10 finished photos are the same photo. That's always a good sign. I think we need a change of scenery here, boys and girls, because it has been a blistering hot summer this year, hasn't it? So let's do this once more, brothers, once more into the fires. That's right, second place goes to the Admiral of the Apocalypse, the King of the Wasteland, James Hall.
Martin over at Mad Cars Green Miniatures would have chosen myself for first place. Princept 1 goes above and beyond the Call of Duty, and he made his motorized, baby. I forgot about this until just now, but your Pennywise build, why is this not the truck cab? Why not? What, did you just want to do a little googly man? Here it is, boys and girls. I know it's been too long since I did one of these myself. The winner is...
Eric G. Gagnon.
Tobias Hutton.
Matt Andrews. David Busset.
Mick Van Fyven, Matthew Morrill, Kev Williams, Arise Lightspear, Darren Phillips, David Bousset, Volker Vike, Darren Phillips. The last video of 2022. My goodness, boys and girls. All right, thank you, Wasteland, and goodbye.
So I think we're in agreement then, my brothers. That's right. So without any further ado, this is it, boys and girls. We've waited 12 months to get to this point. The winner of Gaslands UK Car of the Year for 2022 is David Bousset.
Yeah. Woo.
Congratulations, brother.
It would have to be David's April build, just because it looks like a much bigger scale than it actually is. I'd really like to see that being held in a hand, so you can see how small that van is.
I think that the paint job is immaculate. Like looking at the back of the cab, rear of the cab there, and the rust caked on there, it looks amazing. And he made the frame, the rear frame of this, out of copper wire. I think it was solid copper wire.
It's such a simple concept, but it's executed so nicely. Like the attention to detail is fantastic. I mean, you look at the back of the spoiler, like the underside of it, which as you're flipping through the photos, you might only catch glimpses of, but there looks like there's text and lettering there, which you would have on something that's been repurposed and then painted over and attached to a build. It is beautifully done.
I think the weakest point for me is that 3D printed gun on top.
Yes,
I think that's almost kind of a disappointment to have on top of this beautiful car. I think that everything else is done to perfection, and that 3D printed gun is probably the weakest point. But even that being said, I think this is a really solid build.
Well done. Well done to everybody who entered this year, not just these ones we've talked about. There's so many people who've been left by the wayside, so many fantastic builds that we haven't even featured in this video.
Hundreds of builds.
We haven't mentioned a single Molinaro, have we, this year? Look, and he did some cracking jobs, absolutely some fantastic work. But yeah, well done, David. That is a deserved win. And a tough one to have decided on.
Okay, so just before we continue, if I sound strange, it's because I've got tonsillitis. So I do apologise, but this video needed to be done and uploaded, so just bear with me, alright, boys and girls? Okay, so with a year like 2022, a year where I was entering and finishing every month 12 of 12 from January to December, we had to do something a little special, didn't we, boys and girls? We had to do some special way of seeing out the year. And we've got the Car of the Year winner, we've got David Bousset, and that's all fine and dandy, but with 12 finished cars from myself, and my usual promise around August time of sending out my finished entry to not the winner of August's competition, but to someone that I felt was worthy, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if at the end of the year I sent out all of my finished entries? Now, just before you get too excited, there are some caveats to this. So 3 of them, my February giant robot build, March my multi-wheeled build, and April my hot rod dragster build, those 3 are already claimed for. The robot's going off to a YouTuber I like, the multi-wheeled Beetle Boy, that's going off to my mum for Mother's Day. She's already asked for it back at this point. And the Hot Rod Dragster is going off to a friend who helped fix my car when I had a wedding to go to last year. But that still leaves 9 other cars, doesn't it? Now, when it comes to August's entry, I've already promised that to Dave Bousset. So August's finished build, and it was July, the convertibles build. Both of those are going to Dave Bousset because I feel like they go nicely together. You know, they're a nice matching set. So Dave Bousset, on top of winning Car of the Year for 2022, is also getting a gigantic ship as well as, you know, my July entry. Which leaves 7 other cars to give away. Without any further ado, who am I sending these off to? Fred Ilsley. I absolutely adored your tank build from this year. I loved it. I said it in the video and I'll say it again. I think it's a cracking build. But I would be doing you a disservice if I said that was your only good build of the year. Like in October, you stunned us with the Toys R Us, as well as not even for the competition, but the Pennywise build. And then, you know, you've just been hitting well above your weight all year. So Fred Ilsley, I'm going to send over to you my build from October, all right? The zombie harvesting build. I think it's going to fit nicely with your collection. All right, fella. After Fred, we have your boy Richard Hubbard, who is one of the only other people this year who managed to do the 12 of 12, January to December. So Richard, I am sending out to you multiple cars. I am sending out to you my June, September, November and December finish builds. So that's my medieval themed build, my converter car, my Rutherford cut and shunt, as well as my incredibly rushed Paris-Dakar. Like, you can see the build quality drop in that one. But they are going to you, Richard Hubbard. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend. You have come leaps and bounds since the start of this contest. And finally, because I do not care if someone ends up with the wooden spoon month after month, Keith McAvoy, I am sending you my builds from January and from May. My punk-themed, best of British-themed, little mini and punk limo that I did. Because at the end of the day, Keith, you have been hammering away at this competition and doing your best since the start of the year. And I can respect that, my friend. Absolutely respect that. Because it's not about the flashiest build or the biggest toys and gadgets. It is having the fire and the will and the drive to keep coming back for more. Even when you get the wooden spoon. Even when you feel like every day is going to be a wooden spoon day. So that's right, boys and girls. I'm sending it all out across the 4 corners of the globe. A whole year's worth of toy cars. This is the first time in this competition's history a prize like this has ever been dished out, and it may be the last time.
So in the spirit to echo yourself from a year ago, Matt, in the spirit of gift giving and knighthoods, shall we choose a member of our fair community for the illustrious award of a Greek expert title?
So like an OBE for Gaslands.
Excellent.
Yeah, we need to come up with a good acronym. I'm not fast enough to do it. I think that's a great idea. And personally, I would like to nominate, we've talked about him a lot in this video, but Daz Phillips for that role.
I was going to say, I agree. I think that I see him engaging with a lot of posts, and he'll ask people how have you done that bit, and he's more than happy to answer questions when people ask him the same. So I think he definitely engages with what people are posting. He posts his own things, and obviously he's a pillar of the competition, as we've seen through what we've just talked about this whole time.
No, absolutely. And I think with the amount of plasticard work and scratch building that he's been doing, showing that you don't need a 3D printer or the latest sort of technology to just smash at this contest, I think he could do some really solid tutorials that a lot of people would find really useful.
Hint, hint, Daz, if you're listening.
Yes, congratulations, Darren Phillips, on being knighted our new champion of the Wasteland. We look forward to the work that you will put out this year. I wonder if I can drop my hand on it. Here it is. I've got it from about 5 years ago. It's a nerf. It's when they did the Wasteland series of guns, the Doomlands guns. So there you go, Sir Daz of the Wasteland. Yeah, so thank you all for watching Wasteland. It has been one hell of a 2022, but now here we are in 2023, and let us stride into the future of brand new and brilliant builds. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
Bye, Wasteland.
Nice.
All right. Yeah.
And it only overshot by 2 hours. There you go. That's not bad.
Oh, my
Hang on.
goodness.
The 2 hours, we did 3 hours last year, so that's pretty good going. We've shaved an hour off it.
Oh, is this the alien? Nice.
All right, quick. I'm going to see if I can shoot Matt before he's finished unboxing his gun. Wait. No, wait. There you go.
Show off.
So yeah, something had to go, and some things had to be tightened up. And well, I think it's worked, doesn't it? What do you guys?
Yeah,
think?
I think for the most part, everyone's jumped on right on along with the changes, and I think it was a bit rocky whenever we introduced the new rules and the submissions, but I think recently it's going a lot more smoothly.
I think ultimately there were changes that needed to be made. I don't think we can really pretend that the competition was a flawless, well-oiled machine back at the start of 2022, or back at the start of 2021 or 2020, especially when I did it.
Or at many points throughout its tenure.
Yeah, it's had its ups and its downs, but the overall changes that we've been making, they've been for the better. I mean, we still exist. I think that's got to be one of the biggest signs that this works, is compared to every other Car of the Month contest out there, we're still doing it. We're all still here.
Yeah. Well, that's a credit to the teamwork of everybody pitching in and getting it done each month, because it is such a massive job. It's a massive job to spin those plates, to liaise with the sponsors, to make the video, of course, to crop all those images, to corral 45 or more, model makers who aren't just English speaking, who are, multinational now. It is a huge task. And then to bang that out every month. You see these model making competitions, the OMC, for instance, that goes out once a year, and they don't get as many entrants that we do. So yeah, for us to keep this going, I think is testimony to the hard work that everyone puts in. Look, we're going to be here for hours. Come on, let's talk about some builds.
Yes.